Okay, good morning. We will continue our Bhagavad Gita session this week. So this Bhagavad Gita means we know that it is the song of God, and we understand it very well that it is the knowledge. It's a very important knowledge about our self. So that's what is very important. So this knowledge, like, okay. So this knowledge helps us to know everything about our life. Once we understand this knowledge fully, completely, we will not have any questions about the life in this world. That's it. That itself is a very big question about the life. Like, what is life? We can ask. And it's very difficult to find an answer ourselves with our scientific information, what we are doing it, because the reason is that all the knowledge what we are gaining through our senses. That's what in the very first lecture I explained about the knowledge acquiring senses. So that is Jnanendriyas. 5 of them, the sense of seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, all such things. So with those senses, it's very difficult for us to really find out the purpose of life or about our life or what is the goal of our life. Because the reason is that they are all subtle, beyond our senses. Even our senses are also very limited. You can only see things in a particular wavelength, that's it. So there is visible spectrum. It's a very small spectrum of the electromagnetic radiation. Similarly, you can hear things also in a very limited frequency only. I remember it's 20 to 20,000 hertz. So that is, beyond that you cannot hear. So like that, with our limited senses, it is impossible for us to really find out about ourselves. But it is possible, like in our modern science also, with the cause and effects. So what's happening? So we come up with theories and then we experiment them and it works. And that way we are able to proceed, progress. That's how our modern science also developed so much. If we are thinking from the beginning that if we thought that, oh, I can't see the electrons or atoms, all such things, so especially the electrons I can't see, so I won't believe, so then we are not here. So like that, if we believe in this Bhagavad Gita, then we will be able to experiment this Bhagavad Gita. That's what is very important. This is a practical knowledge, experimental knowledge. Everything said in this Bhagavad Gita can be experimented. Not only can be experimented, it should be experimented by everyone. It should be practiced. It should be practiced by everyone, every individual, because this is the way of life. So this cannot be, we cannot ignore this thinking that this is something not a part of our religion or something like that, because we need to understand this Bhagavad Gita is beyond all these religious things. Actually, it's not rituals. Whatever mentioned or are given in Bhagavad Gita is not simply just following some rituals. It is the science about our mind, senses, intelligence, body, soul, and how they are connected. And when we are acting, and especially I'm right now showing the, like in the 4th chapter, that's what we finished last time. We'll continue from here. So I hope we will try to finish the 4th and 5th chapter today. And we understood from the first 3 chapters also why this knowledge was first given by Krishna to Arjuna and in the battlefield. We understood about Arjuna's situation in the battlefield. He was completely helpless because he was forced to kill all his relatives, his grandfather, Bhishma, his teacher, Drona. So that was Arjuna's situation. So in that situation, he was completely confused and bewildered, and he asked Krishna to tell him what is good for me. So that's one thing he asked. So that's what in the second chapter. So Arjuna told Krishna that you please tell me what is good for me. So that was his situation. So that's why this knowledge we have, this Bhagavad Gita knowledge we have, because Arjuna told Krishna that now I lost all my composure. I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. So in this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Yasyan Nishchitam Bruhi Tanmi. You please tell me what is good for me, what is best for me. So Arjuna asked at that time, even though Krishna was his very close friend and his cousin, Arjuna told Krishna that now I am your student. Sishya. Sishya means disciple. So disciple means I am your student. Sishya te. So I am your student. Aham. Aham means me. Te means you. So I am your student. Sishya te aham. Now, Sadi mam. You please instruct me. That's what Sadi mam. And Tvam Prapannam. Tvam. I am surrendered unto you. So in such a submissive attitude, he was listening this, asking these questions. So that's what another very important qualification to get this knowledge is actually in a very open-mindedness. That is the main thing. So we should understand, we should realize that we don't know everything. So that already just in the beginning I mentioned, because of our limited senses. So whatever knowledge we have right now also is when we are born in this world as a child, we didn't know anything. In our brain itself, nothing was stored. In fact, our brain itself, after when we are born, only a lot of neurons are getting developed, especially in the first 2 years of the child, especially as soon as we are born. So then only all the neural networks, all the connections between different neurons are forming. That's why a child is not able to understand things immediately, but when it's growing, it's able to, the child is able to understand. So that way we are getting to know about our surroundings, our relatives, our other things in this world. We are learning all such things. So it's happening that way. So like that, we need to also learn this knowledge. This knowledge is there. So Arjuna is asking Krishna, you please tell me what is good for me. So whatever Krishna told Arjuna, that is also good for us, because we are also in this battlefield. This material world itself is a battlefield. Because we are every day in our life, we are coming across a lot of issues, a lot of problems, because this material world is like that. So first of all, we understand very well from Bhagavad Gita that our real problems are birth, old age, disease, and death that cannot be stopped, which no one wants. No one wants to become old, but we are getting old. So no one wants to die, but we die. So that way, those are our real problems. So in this Bhagavad Gita, solution is given to solve these problems. So that means we will no longer be forced to accept a material body. So we have this material body. Because of that, we are struggling. So when Arjuna asked this question, then Krishna gave the answers, which we already studied in the second chapter. We can divide this second chapter itself into 3 portions. See, first 1/3, Krishna is giving the complete knowledge to Arjuna that everyone is the soul. In this world, soul. So the understanding, the knowledge about the soul. So now the question comes that whether I believe in or not, that is up to the individual. If a person believes in, he can progress. If you don't believe in, like the same like the science. So if we believe in all the principles of science, physics, chemistry, all the Newton's laws of motions, everything, if we believe in, then we can study more and we can invent. We can now how much the technology has developed. So that's why we are even able to study today remotely. Also, we are able to understand, so communicate. So all these things, especially in this pandemic situation, like the work didn't stop. The industries didn't stop working. Many of the industries, of course, those who have to go in person, that there were some problems definitely, but still, Even the schoolings, they were able to do it from home. Everything was through online, all such things. Because of this, this online technology is available. And because we believed in this. So that's why we are able to use it. So similarly, if we are able to study and understand this Bhagavad Gita with that belief, so then we will be able to use it. So that way, the first one that is teaching us about the soul. We are not the body, we are the soul. And then in the middle one third, so second half of us, not second half, in the middle one third, so Krishna is teaching that this Bhagavad Gita, actually in this Bhagavad Gita, we are the soul, but the soul is inside this body. That is the problem. So we are inside this material body. So that is our problem. So now we need to solve this problem. So we should not be inside this body, because when we are inside this material body, we don't have options. It all depends upon what body we got, only with which we can operate. That's it. That much only we can do. So if we got a human body, and if all the working senses, hands, legs, everything are working very well, then you can do much more things compared to an ant's body. For example, an ant or an earthworm or somebody. So, but still the problem is that this body comes to an end. We'll get old, and hands and legs also will become weak. Then we cannot walk. Then we will be completely immovable. So then we'll go to deathbed. Then we will die, and then we'll be forced to get another body. So all those things, we need to get ourselves freed from this bondage. So this bondage is known as karma bandha and janma bandha. Karma bandha is the bondage to work. Janma bandha is the bondage to birth. So these things we need to get liberation. So that's what Krishna is teaching. Then in the last one third, in the second chapter, Arjuna asked the question, what are the symptoms of a person who has freed from this bondage? So that means who has achieved steady intelligence. So for that, 18 verses, Krishna answered very, very clearly about that, and we studied. In that, notably, we have understood that in the verse 63 and 62 and 63 in the second chapter, we understood that how all the problems in this material world is coming to us. What is the real reason? So the real reason for all these problems, we understood very well that while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. Because when we identify ourselves with this body, so then we will develop attachment to everything around us, including our body, including other bodies, other relatives, other bodies, and other sense objects. So we are developing that attachment. So that way, when our mind, dhyayato means contemplating. So that means the mind thinks. When our mind thinks about the sense objects, vishayan means sense objects, vishayan. So last week we studied about, I explained about the important words which we need to know, key words. So the vocabulary basically, like yoga, yukta, like that we studied. So in that vishayan also, vishayan means sense objects. So when we think about the sense objects, so then immediately we develop attachment to them. So sangha, so sangam, that also we need to know. Vishayan, sangha. Sangam means it is attachment. So from such attachment, kama develops. And from kama, krodha. So vishayan, sangha, kama, krodha. That's how we need to know. Vishayan, from vishayan, sangha. So when we think about the sense objects, attachment, and then from sangha, from the attachments, kama, that means a strong desire to enjoy those sense objects. First, you are thinking about the sense objects, then a strong desire to enjoy those sense objects. And then when our desires are not fulfilled, so then krodha comes, that is anger. So that's what happens, krodha. So then from krodhat bhavati sammohaga, sammohat smriti vibhrama. So from krodha, from anger, delusion arises. So when we are angry, we will not be able to decide which is good, which is right, which is wrong. We won't be able to decide. So that's what delusion. So that means from the delusion, memory is bewildered. So when memory is bewildered, we will lose intelligence. We will not have intelligence. So when there is no intelligence, then one falls down. So that means we will again get ourselves bound to this material well. So that's what happens. So that means we keep on thinking about material sense objects, then that will keep on binding us to this material well. That's what today we are going to study in the 4th chapter. So how to free ourselves from that bondage. So that's what in the 4th chapter we are going to focus. That is called yajna. So yajna is another word we need to understand. So yajna, its translation is sacrifice, but we immediately think that sacrifice means sacrificing animals. So that is not at all discussed in Bhagavad Gita. So definitely Krishna, who is teaching us that we are not the body, we are the soul, he is not at all recommending this animal sacrifice at all. That is not true, not correct at all as per Bhagavad Gita. But yajna means we will understand the meaning of yajna. So first of all, we need to understand the meaning of yajna. We understand the meaning of yoga. So yoga means being equal in both success and failure. So that is what is called yoga, siddhi, asiddhi. So that is what is called yoga. And yukta means being able to keep all our thoughts under our control, mind under our control, and then act. So that means regulation. So being able to regulate our activities, that is what is called yukta. So like that, we will understand here today also like the Buddhinasat. So what we are studying about that is Sthita Prajna, a person who has got intelligence, like whose intelligence is very well established. So that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna that in the last 1/3 of the Bhagavad Gita, there is yajna. So that's what I meant. Like that, we need to understand what is yajna. We understood about yoga, we understood about yukta, and we need to understand about yajna. So yajna means it is actually doing everything in connection with God. So that is what is called yajna. So that is what yajna means, offering. So we can translate yajna as offering. So offering everything to God, knowing very well that we don't own anything in this world. So in this world, we claim that this is owned by me, that is owned by me, I own this, like that we claim, but it is not true. We don't own. Maybe we can represent represent God that I own this, but really speaking, everything what we own here, what we think that we have gained here, everything we are going to lose. And so that part we need to understand. So that's what is known as yajna. So yajna means doing everything in relationship with God. So now that also we understand from Bhagavad Gita that there is God in control. So that is another thing. As soon as we talk about God, then immediately in general we think that, oh, that is a part of religion. So that's what we think, that science is different. Our modern science, what we are studying, that is different. Then God is different. So then God means it comes into everyone's faith, and different religions and all such things are there. But here in Bhagavad Gita, everything is based on science. So here yajna, we need to understand about yajna. So that yajna means we are doing everything, understanding that everything is owned by God. So everything is enjoyed by God. So that way, if we have that knowledge, so then things will become very clear. So, but in Bhagavad Gita, since Lord Sri Krishna is giving us this knowledge, he is claiming us God. So we just have to take Bhagavad Gita as it is. So that way, this knowledge will make everything very, very clear to us. So then, so that way, if we are not thinking about sense objects, so then what will happen? So in this case, I just try to translate this sloka in a different perspective. So if we don't think about dhyayato, if we don't think about the vishayan means the sense objects. If we think about God all the time, getting this understanding from Bhagavad Gita that there is God is in control. Everything is scientific, everything makes sense. So we cannot simply say that everything just came from the Big Bang and just appeared just like that, because there is a purpose. Sun is there. If there is no sun, if we are not getting any light in this earth, then there is no life here. So all these things in a specific way it is designed, we are able to now, so many laws like physics, chemistry, everywhere we are able to deduce laws and we are able to follow. Everything is following. There are so many constants like gravitational constant and this constant. A lot of things are actually naturally is there. So all those things, they cannot just come by probability or come by chance. So that way, understanding, first of all, realizing and believing that there is God. And if we are able to now, Dhyayato, so God here in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says that He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama. So, Dhyayato Krishna Pumsaga Sangaste Supajayate. Instead of Vishayan Pumsaga, if we focus on God, so then you will develop attachment to God. Then from that Sangha, what is happening is that there is no karma, there is only prema. Prema means love towards the God. That love develops. So then from prema, we will develop bhakti. So that bhakti means devotion. So we will develop devotion to God. So that way our life will make a lot of meaning and we will be able to do everything in a day with this understanding that we are able to identify our relationship with God and able to act everything as an offering unto God. So that's what is called yajna. So then at that point of time, we will not lose our intelligence. We will gain our intelligence. So that's what we need to understand, that at that time we'll gain our intelligence. Now going back to the 4th chapter, what we stopped last week actually. So Krishna is telling into Arjuna in the 4th chapter. So we studied in the 16th sloka in the 4th chapter. So Krishna tells Arjuna that even the most intelligent persons, they don't understand what is karma, what is akarma. So we are focusing on karma and akarma. So karma means action, akarma means inaction. So kim karma, kim akarma. That means what is karma and what is akarma. So kaviyo pyatra mohitaga. Even the intelligent persons are bewildered. So let me explain to you what is karma, by knowing which you will be freed from the miseries of material existence. That means ashubhat. Ashubhat means it is ill fortune. So that's what ashubhat. So moksha means liberation. So you will be freed from yajnatva means by knowing. By knowing this, you will be freed from all misfortune. So that's what Krishna is teaching. So we really need to know what is karma. So the meaning of karma is actually prescribed duties. So that's what is karma. So that's why in the next verse, Krishna told that karmanohi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaga akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. One should understand what is karma, what is vikarma, what is akarma. So karma means action, vikarma means inaction, and akarma means inaction, vikarma means forbidden activities. So that's what we need to know. So action, that means prescribed duties. We can say that karma means prescribed duties, and vikarma means it is forbidden activities, and then akarma means not doing our prescribed duties. So that is what is called akarma. So karma is prescribed duties, vikarma is forbidden activities, abominable activities, and akarma means not doing our prescribed activities. So these are all the three things we are understanding. So that way, the intricacies of action are very difficult to understand. Gahana karmano gati. So we focused on the 4 verses here in this chapter. That's what we finished last week. So in the verse number 20, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, all this 20 to 23, basically 20 to 23, these 4 verses. I will just read through here. I know it will go each and every sloka also, it's possible. But abandoning all attachment to the results of activities. That's what Tyaktva Karma Pala Sangam. Nitya Tripto Nirasrayaga. Ever satisfied and independent. Karmani Abhipravirthopi Naiva Kinchit Karoti Sagar. He performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. So the important message what we are receiving in this sloka, in this Bhagavad Gita, in this chapter, that abandoning the attachment to the results. So that's why I always say that we don't even have to give up the results. We don't have to abandon the results. The results, of course, when we study, when we get good grades, we are only going to get the grade. We are only going to get the job. When we work hard at the work job, when the salary is given to us, we are only getting the salary. But we should not be attached to the results. So that's where all our problem lies. This is Sangam. Again, that Sangam, what we studied, attachment. Attachment. Sangam means attachment. So if we are attached, so then only all the problems are there. So that way, if we are not attached to the results of activities, still we can perform our activities very well. There is no doubt. So we can do it to our level best. We will get all kinds of good results, excellent results. We can use them, everything. We don't have to abandon the results, but we should not be attached to the results. That means how we can prove that we are not attached to the results? That means when we are not affected by the results. So that is what is known as karma. So then such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus, working is not affected by sinful reactions. We need to understand that our actions are only binding us. We are forced to act. We are not free. In the 3rd chapter we studied, no one is idle. Not even a single moment we can sit idle. Everyone is forced to act. But our actions are only our binding. So, yajnartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaga. That's what in the 3rd chapter Krishna said. So, any activity which is not done as an offering to Lord, which is not done in connection with God, so that means which is not a prescribed duty. That's what. Any activity which is not a prescribed duty, so it is going to bind us to this well. Lokoyam karma bandhanaga. It's going to bind us to work in this well. So that way, if we just act only for the bare necessities of life, means sariram kevalam karma, just to maintain our body. So that means there is no need for us to give up all our ambitions of becoming this and that. We can do that. But we should not be affected by the results. We should not be attached to the results. And we should do that with purpose. That is in relationship with God. So to satisfy God. So that's what is very important. To please God. So then it is fine. Otherwise, we are going to be affected by the results. So that's why yadircha labha santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraga samaga siddhav asiddhavcha kirtva api na nibaddhati. So when one is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, yadircha. Yadircha means it just comes on its own. Labha santusho, whatever gain, one should be satisfied. And dvandva athito. So this dvandva, another way we need to understand, there is dualities in this way. Everything has two sides. So one is freed from the dvandva. Dvandva athito vimatsaraga, free from envy. So again, samaga siddhav asiddhavcha. So being equal in both success and failure. So then if we act, so then kritva means when a person is acting, so he is not bound, na nibaddhati. So in the 2nd chapter, we studied about karma bandham, janma bandham. So bondage to work, bondage to birth. So these things will be freed if we are able to follow these 4 slokas, 20 to 23 in the 4th chapter. So then we are not bound by the sinful reactions. So it's never entangled, although performing actions. So that's what Krishna is teaching us. So this is the secret of acting. So we need to understand from Bhagavad Gita. So that means everything should be done only for God, only in relationship with God. So that's what in the sloka number 24, what we are studying. So in the 24th, Krishna is teaching, that's what he says. Brahmatpanam brahmakavir brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. So this word Brahman is repeating many times. So we need to understand that this word refers to the Supreme Lord, and also sometimes refers to the soul. It all depends on the context in which this word is used. And sometimes this word Brahman refers to spiritual world. Spiritual world also is Brahman. So that way we need to understand here everything is arpanam. Arpanam means offering, contribution. Everything should be offered to the God. That is the main thing. So that's why we should be able to connect ourselves with God. If we are all our problems in this material world because of our ignorance that not knowing that we are the soul and thinking that we are the body, and because of that we are not able to connect with the God, and because of that forgetfulness of God is what creating all the problems for us in this material world. Once we get this knowledge and realize and understand there is God in control. Only demons will say that there is no God. Asatyam apratishtam te jagatdagur aniswaram. So aparaspara sambhutam. Only the demons will say that this world is not real, asatyam, and there is no foundation, apratishtam te, and there is no God in control, jagatdagur aniswaram. So and aparaspara sambhutam, and it was created just by chance. So all those things only the demons will say. But there are two kinds of people, divine and demoniac persons. So that is the entire 16th chapter. Krishna is teaching that. So that way, if we know that there is God in control, then if we do everything as an offering to God, so then that is what is known as yajna. So now we are getting into yajna. So in the next few slokas in the 4th chapter, so it's all talking about yajna only. So there are different types of yajnas. Everything, whatever we do in relationship with God, that is what sometimes they will, like in the fire, they sacrifice the oblations into the like fire. And so like that, there are different types of yajnas. But I don't want to go through all these things in detail, but we need to understand that everything which is done as an offering unto God, that means in relationship with God. So that means everything is which are prescribed duties. That's what it means, that prescribed duties. So niyatam kuru karmatvam. So niyatam karma. Niyatam karma means it's prescribed duties. So that means there is no problem. So prescribed duties when we perform without any attachment to the results, so that means we are offering to God. So that's what it means. So we have to offer only with our mind. So that's what is very important. Our mind should be connected all the time with God. So that means our mind should not be focusing on the temporary material sense objects. So that is the problem here most of the time in this world. So I explained about the 3 modes of material nature also. Our mind is going after a lot of things, and it's influenced by our surroundings, circumstances, and a lot of other things. So in general, our time is actually is getting wasted by thinking about all those things. So that way our mind is, basically we are losing our mind. That's what is happening. When we are very much engaged in this worldly affairs, all the time thinking about, talking about the games, movies, this, that, the politics, all such things. So what's happening is that our mind is not with us. We are losing our mind. So, but if we are able to focus that mind on God, so on Krishna, here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna many times he teaches that you always think of me. So like that. So if we are able to focus our mind so on God, so then we are able to control our mind. Our mind will become our best friend. So that's what is known as offering. So out of all these yajnas, so what we are doing right now we are all acting. Right now we are not sitting idle. I'm delivering this Bhagavad Gita lecture, and you are also hearing, and we are engaged in right now, fully focusing on this. So this is an act. So here what Krishna is teaching us, that out of all these yajnas, all these offerings, so there is jnana yajna. So that's what jnana yajna is the best one. So when we do this, when we are perfect in this, so that means everything will come in the right way. So that's why Shreyan Drabyamayat Yajnat Jnana Yajnaka Parantapa Sarvam Karma Akilam Partha Jnane Parisamapit. So Shreyan means it's good, it's the best one. So dravya mayat means offering. Dravya means material possessions in the sacrificial fire. So compared to that, jnana yajnaka means right now sacrifice in knowledge. We are spending all our now this our precious time and our engaging our mind in gaining this knowledge of this Bhagavad Gita, which is known as the king of knowledge, Rajavidya, and which is the most confidential knowledge, Rajaguhyam. Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram, Uttamam, Pratyaksha, Vagamam, Dharmyam, Susukam Kartum, Avyayam. So if you are able to focus our mind on this knowledge, so that is what is called Jnana Yajna, because everything culminates in the knowledge. Sarvam Karma Akilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. Karma Akilam means all karma, all activities. So that's why Karma Akilam, Sarvam Karma Akilam, Jnane Parisamapyate. It culminates in transcendental knowledge. So that's why this Jnana Yajna is very, very important Yajna. That's what we are doing right now. We are all acting right now. And we are performing Jnana Yajna right now. And anyone who listens to this recorded lecture, when we record it, and anyone who is going to listen to that, they are also performing Jnana Yajna. So this is what is going to take us, solve all our problems we are facing in this material world. So in the next remaining portion of this fourth chapter, Krishna is fully focusing on this jnana. So this jnana yajna. So we understand in this chapter, this knowledge is very, very important. This Bhagavad Gita knowledge is very, very important. And this is a science. And this is a science, and it's applicable to everyone in this earth or any other planet, wherever we go, wherever life is there. This knowledge is applicable. That's what we need to do. So this is not going to change at all, because this is the knowledge about the self, knowledge about the soul. So that's what we need to understand. So what Krishna is teaching us in this chapter, in the coming next few slokas, even if if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross beyond the ocean of miseries. Apichetasi papebhyaga sarvebhyaga papa krittamaga sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. That's what Krishna is. So that's why this knowledge is very, very important. And this knowledge is Krishna is telling Arjuna that tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Jnaninas tattva darshanam. So this is the knowledge. If we get this knowledge, if we understand this entire Bhagavad Gita fully, 18 chapters, 700 verses. So just one book. And it is the science. It is the science. It is the king of science. It is the king of knowledge. And it is the knowledge about the soul. If we get this knowledge, so then Krishna is teaching here that you can cross beyond the ocean of material miseries. So this world is a material world. So it is full of miseries in this material world. So that's why in the 7th and 8th chapters, Krishna is teaching us that in the 8th and 9th chapter, that this is dukkhalayam, asasvatam, means it's a miserable place, temporary and miserable place, this earth. So that means there is a sukhalayam sasvatam. So there is a permanent blissful place. So how we can go to that permanent blissful place? Because soul, we are not the body, we are the soul. So the soul is inside in this material world, having this material body in this temporary miserable place, and we are struggling and suffering. So Krishna is teaching in the 9th chapter 33, sloka number 33, that Anityam asukkam lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Having come to this temporary miserable world, you worship me. So that's what Krishna is teaching. So we have to connect with God to get out of this material world. So that way, as the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So if we have this knowledge, if we act with this knowledge, then we will be able to come out of this reactions to our actions. Each and every action has got an equal and similar reaction. That's what is the law of karma. So in the law of Newton's third law of motion is that each and every action has got an equal and opposite reaction. So here it has got a similar reaction. So if we get this knowledge, we'll be able to burn all our sinful reactions into ashes. So that's why Yataidamsi Samitto Bhasmasat Kurute Arjuna Jnanagni Sarva Karmani Bhasmasat Kurute Tada. So Jnanagni means it's the fire of knowledge. Jnana Plaveneva, that's what in the previous verse we studied. Jnana Plaveneva means that is the boat of knowledge. Jnana Plaveneva, that is the boat of knowledge. Jnanagni means it is the fire of knowledge. So how we are going to get this knowledge, that's what is a very important. So this is a very, very important. What is the qualification to gain this knowledge? That's very important. Even if we apply to good reputed institutions, universities, we have to meet all the qualifications. Otherwise, our application itself won't be taken in. They won't be even considering our application. So here, the only qualification what we need is this Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. So if we have faith, we are getting this knowledge. We are able to study this Bhagavad Gita and we are able to get this knowledge because we have faith. We believe in this knowledge. So, but what is the effect of getting this knowledge? Once we get this knowledge, what's going to happen? So when we have faith, we are able to get this knowledge. And when we get this knowledge, then what's going to happen? We will be able to control our senses. Samyate Indriya. So Samyate Indriya means Samya means it is controlling senses. Indriya is senses. So that means we'll be able to control our mind. So that's what Samyate Indriya. So once we are able to control our mind, that means control our senses. So that means we are able to control our mind. So what is going to happen? So we are going to get Param Shantim. That means the ultimate supreme peace of mind. Param Shantim. So that's what is needed. For us, what we need is the peace of mind. We don't want to get disturbed. So if our mind is peaceful, we are happy. If our mind is not peaceful, we are not happy at all. If our mind is disturbed, we are not happy at all. So that's what is the effect of knowing this Bhagavad Gita knowledge. Once we gain this knowledge, we are going to get, we will know how to control our mind, how to control our senses, how to make our mind as our best friend. So that means we know how to achieve peace of mind. So this peace of mind cannot be obtained from anywhere else. We cannot order it online. Nobody can sell this peace of mind. Maybe we can take some medicine to our depression or anxieties is there, but they are not going to work. They are going to be a problem. Then again, we need to take severe doses, and at the end, we'll get addicted to that, and all kinds of problems, issues will come. But here, the supreme peace of mind comes just by getting this knowledge. But what if we don't get this knowledge? That means if we don't get this knowledge, that means there is no peace of mind. That means there is no happiness. Happiness comes only when there is peace of mind. So that's why Ajnascha Ashraddhadanascha. Ajnascha means a person who has no knowledge, ignorant. And Ashraddhadana means has no faith. So such a person is known as Samsayatma. Samsayatma means a doubtful person. So Samsayatma. So then Vinashyati, Nayam Loko Asti, Na Paro. Not only in this world, even in the next world also, in any other world also, he will not have any happiness. Na Sukham, Samsayatmanaga. A doubtful person will not be happy in this world or in any other world, because this faith only gives us this knowledge. And once we get this knowledge, this scientific knowledge that we are the soul, we are not the body, and we have the mind, and we should control our mind, and our mind should be our best friend. So then if we conquer our mind, so then we get the peace of mind. So that's why Jitatmanaka Prashantasya. So when we conquer our mind, we are going to get peace of mind. So that way, if we have no knowledge, so then there is no peace of mind, then there is no happiness. So that's why Krishna is teaching us that this knowledge is like a weapon of knowledge. So one should be able to, that's why he says that the doubts which have arisen from in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. So that's why Krishna is saying that. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam Hritastam Jnanasin Atmanaga. Jnanasin Atmanaga means this is the weapon of knowledge. We already understood that Jnana Plavenaiva. Jnana Plavenaiva means it is the boat of knowledge by which we can cross beyond the ocean of material miseries. And it is Jnana Agni. It is the fire of knowledge by which we can burn all our reactions into ashes. And it is Jnanasin Atmanaga. It is the weapon of knowledge by which we can destroy all our doubts. Chitvainam Samsayam. Chitvainam Samsayam means destroy our doubts. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge armed with yoga. So that's what Krishna is teaching. So we will quickly touch some slokas in the 5th chapter and then we'll stop for today. So in the 5th chapter, Krishna, so we successfully finished 4 chapters now. So in the 5th chapter, it is continuing. So what Krishna is teaching here in the 5th chapter, that Arjuna is asking a question. So it's a very important question. This kind of questions Arjuna asks again and again. What he is asking, that we need to understand this question. Arjuna asks many such great questions. If we understand all the questions and answers, so that means we understand this entire Bhagavad Gita. So we should be thankful to Arjuna also. Arjuna Vacha, Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam Cha Samsis. So you were talking about sannyasam karmana means giving up the actions and also performing the actions. Now you tell me out of these two, etayor, out of these two, ekam, you tell me one which is good for me. So what is good for me? Should I renounce all the actions or should I perform? Because Krishna said that one should know that about what is karma, what is vikarma, what is akarma, all such things Krishna said, correct? So at that time, Krishna didn't go actually much in detail about the akarma. He mentioned only about the karma, karma bandha, all such things only is teaching. But Arjuna still not ready to fight. He decided not to fight. He told Krishna that Nayotse iti Govindam. Govinda, I shall not fight. So that's why Arjuna here again and again asking Krishna that, okay, can I stop fighting? Can I do akarma? Akarma means his prescribed duty is fighting there. So akarma means it is not doing the duty. So that means sannyasa. So that means if we are not doing, then we are not going to get any reactions. If we are acting, then we are going to get reactions. So then those reactions are going to either binding us or liberating us, depending upon whether we are attached to the, not attached to the results or attached to the results. So here Arjuna is asking Krishna, if I don't act at all, then there are no reactions. So that way what to do? So that's what Arjuna is asking. You tell me for certain what is good for me. So in the next sloka, Krishna is answering that the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. So that's what we understand. So we already understood in the 3rd chapter itself that we cannot stop working. Everyone is forced to work. So it's very difficult to renounce all our activities. That is not possible, actually. It's very difficult. So that's why here Krishna is teaching us that is even in the next coming slokas, even in the 12th chapter also we will study. In fact, in this chapter itself, in one sloka, Krishna is simply teaching us here that merely renouncing all activities and yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord cannot make one happy. So, but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So that way, this akarma is not an option for us. Sannyasastu mahabhago dukkam aptum ayogataka. It's not only saying that cannot make one happy, it says that you will achieve distress. Dukkam. Dukkam means it is distress. Dukkam means it is distress. You will get distress just by renouncing the work. Sannyasa. Whereas yoga yukto, whereas if you perform yoga, yoga yukta, what is the meaning of yoga? Not getting affected by the results, being equal in both success and failure. So if you are engaging, if you are performing yoga, yoga yukto, munir means a sage means a thinker, a performer, a person who get this knowledge and applying this knowledge. So he will Brahma adhigacchati. Brahman means Krishna's well. So he will go to spiritual world, basically spiritual world. So very quickly, achirena, nachirena means without any delay. Without any delay, quickly he will reach. So that way, for us, the sannyasa is not an option at all. Even though Arjuna is asking, because still it is possible to liberate from this material bondage by sannyasa, but that's not the quick way. It's going to be a very troublesome way. In the 12th chapter, we'll study, Krishna says that Klesho adhiga tarastesam avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gati dukkam degavadvir avapyate. So that path is very difficult and troublesome. So that way, for us in this world, it is not a recommended path. So the quick way to get liberation from the material bondage is to get this knowledge and understand that we are the soul, and also understand that there is a super soul, Paramatma. He is also seated in everyone's body. So, and get connection with that Paramatma by conquering our mind. Jitatmanaga prasantasya Paramatma samahita. So once we control our mind, so then we can actually achieve the Paramatma. We will be able to connect with the Paramatma. So that's what Krishna is teaching. So that way one can quickly get. So that way one should act. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid. So I will just read this thing here. What is there means a person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all, because while evacuating, so while speaking, evacuating, receiving or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only material senses are engaged with their sense object and that he is aloof from them. So that way we should be able to disconnect ourselves within our mind. The mind, mind is using the brain. So our brain here, whatever we see through eyes, the photoreceptors, the senses, so the object is getting into our brain. So then mind should not be connected with that. Mind should not be attached to that. So similarly, our tasting, eating, or touching, or smelling, and hearing, all such things, one should think that Naiva kinchit karometi yukto manyeta tattvavid. These two lines are very important. So means I am not the doer. Yukto manyeta. Manyeta means one should think. One should think that I am not the performer. I am not connected with this. So that means our mind should be connected with God, with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. We should be able to control our mind. So that means our mind should not be thinking about the sense objects. If we see some sense object, our mind should not go there. That is the main thing. So whatever the type of sense object it may be, for eating, for touching, for smelling, for hearing. So our mind should not go there. So that way we need to control our mind. We need to regulate our mind. So if our mind is not going there, so then we are safe. Then there is no problem. There is no karma, no krodha, no delusion, no memories bewildered, and intelligence is not lost. But when our mind goes there, then only it's a problem. So this entire Bhagavad Gita is teaching us about how to train our mind not to get out of control. That is the main thing, not to get out of control. So everything should be regulated. That's what is called yukta. Yukta means regulation. So that's what makes one happy. That's what is very important. So that way, how that is possible? Everything should be done as an offering unto God. When we are able to connect with God, Brahmanya adaya karmani sangam tyaktva. Again, sangam. Sangam means attachment. Tyaktva karotyaga. Lipyate nasapapena padma patram ivambas. So if a person is able to perform everything in connection with God by giving up the attachment to the results, that means he will not be bound by the reactions, bound by the sins. Lipyate nasapapena. Like the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Padma patram ivambasa. Padma patram means a lotus leaf. Ambasa means it's water. So it is not touched by water. So similarly, if we are able to perform all our actions, so then we will not be touched by the sins. So that way there is no sinful reactions. We'll just finish with the next verse. So this is a very important verse. Krishna is teaching that Kayena manasa buddhya kevalai indriyairapi yoginaha karma kuruvanti sangam tyaktva atma suddhaye. Again this word sangam tyaktva. So this is a very, very important key word is the sangam tyaktva. Sangam tyaktva means by giving up the attachment. So kayena manasa buddhya. So there is body, with the mind, with the intelligence, kayena manasa buddhya indriya, senses. So one should be purified. So kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyairapi yoginaha. Yoginaha means a person who is able to perform yoga. That means who is not attached to the results, who is able to maintain the equanimity in both success and failure. So yoginaga karma kuruvanti. So they perform the karma, they perform the actions sangam tyaktva, by giving up the attachment to the results only for the purpose of purifying the self. Atma suddhaye. Atma suddhaya means for the purpose of purification of the self. Suddhaya means purification, Atma is self. So that means any action we do in our life, all the activities, it should be helping us to purify ourselves. So that means our body, mind, senses, intelligence, everything should be used to perform the activities only to achieve the status of yoga. So that way we can purify ourselves. So this human life is very precious. It's very rare. And our brain is very, very special. With our brain, if we are able to achieve this, if we are able to purify ourselves, so then we will be freed from the bondage to birth and work in this world, Janma Bandha and Karma Bandha. That's going to actually, we will be able to enjoy. That is a real happiness. That is a real enjoyment. Being ourselves not affected by the material modes of nature, being ourselves not attached to the material sense objects, when our mind is able to maintain that equilibrium all the time, not getting disturbed by anything, so that is the ultimate superior happiness which we can enjoy forever. Sukham akshayam asnuti. So that is a real happiness. So that's what this Bhagavad Gita leads us to. So we have successfully finished off of the 5th chapter today, up to 11 verses here. So we'll continue again from next week. I will stop now and we'll discuss if any questions are there. So let me make everyone as co-host so that you can unmute yourself also. You can also unmute whenever you want. Yeah, Miss Kari, you were able to understand today very well. You were able to hear.
Yes, I could hear quite well. One thing that I've been wondering about both in this lecture and in previous ones, there's the goal to seek a balance between positive and negative yoga, or I mean, apologies, positive and negative karma.
Yes.
So does that mean the balancing of both good and bad actions?
That is correct. Good and bad results. So what does that mean is that first of all, we should be performing only prescribed duties so that we will understand with this knowledge. So that way the actions which are abominable activities, Krishna himself says that one should keep such abominable activities at a far distance. Durenahi avaram karma. So vikarma, avaram karma, both are same. So that means we should not be performing any activities which are not going to help us to free from this material bondage. So that means we should know what are the activities which are prescribed. That how will we know? With this knowledge. So Krishna says in the 16th chapter last sloka that Tasmat Sastram Pramanamte Karya Akarya Vivastito. Karya means the activity what we do, Akarya means we don't do. So either to do or not to do, which should be based on this Bhagavad Gita knowledge. This Bhagavad Gita is the Sastra. Iti Guhyatamam Sastram. This is the ultimate confidential Sastra, scripture. So everything should be based on the scriptural injunctions. So when we are able to perform all the prescribed duties and not affected by the results, so that means whatever the results come, they should not bother us. But we should be able to do the activity very well. We can focus, we can get that motivation. Where from that motivation comes to perform anything. In this world, everybody is motivated. Somebody who is materially attached to the sense objects, they are also motivated and they really do the activity very well. So, but for a person who is motivated to get freed from the reactions, so that means in connection with the God, so that way we will not be affected by the results. Then we'll be able to maintain that balance. So balance means at that time the results means whether it is not like good or bad results, whether it is the one which we want or not. So when we perform an activity, of course we have some desires means some expectations. So for example, if a person is writing an exam, definitely you want to get A, but we are only working our level best, and whatever the result comes after only until the time of completing that activity, that is whatever we can do our level best, we'll do it. But once the result is out, that should not bind us, that should not affect us. So that's what is that balance. That balance is that you want a person who has the knowledge, who gets the knowledge and able to decide what is the right or wrong activity. So perform only the right activity, and then while performing the right activity also, and not getting affected by the results of the activity. So that's what ultimately it says. You understand it?
I don't think so, but I think it's a situation where I need to read more.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know whether I understood your questions in the right sense and explain to you, but you can, maybe as you said, you can read more and more, and then we can get it, because we are just only in the fourth chapter, fifth chapter. So once you read and understand this more, this vedabase.io website, so then I think slowly it will become very clear. All the questions will be answered over a period of time. So that way we will be able to maintain that balance. It takes time to get this full knowledge, so then we can get it. So Karan, Prabhu, you can unmute, or Rohit Prabhu. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm here. I think Alex, do you have any questions? Okay. Okay, so Alex here, and he doesn't have any questions. Prabhu, so should we call it a day? I think.
Okay. Alec, good morning. I couldn't be there in person today, so